Welcome into A to Z Sports Prime Time on this Wednesday evening. Lovely to see you guys here for another episode of the Primetime Show. We're going to talk about the injury report, an unfortunate development with Nick Westbrook-Aina that we're going to get into a little bit. Buy or sell is a game that we will play in the middle of the show. And then, of course, rising or falling, which is a different version of buying or selling, but it doesn't necessarily have to be Titans related the way that the second segment does. We got a lot to do and a lot to get to. Sin City Titan says, blah, 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 Amanda J. Gentry, blah, 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 your football team is objectively bad, in my Buck Raising voice, Buck Rising voice, although you could be Buck Raising if you want to. I'm not here to tell you how bad your football team is tonight, though we do need to address some things about it. I can't help that you're 5-9. There's nothing that I can do about that. I wish I could do something for you about that. I wish I could do something for me about that, but, we'll soldier on and continue through together. Randy Howard says, selling the goon that suggested Buck leave the Titans this offseason on Twitter. Yeah, somebody said they didn't even want me back next offseason. I said, oh, well, careful what you wish for. You're not that pretty at 5-9 either, trust me, but it's okay. I'm not going anywhere yet. Not yet. Don't tempt me. So before we get started, need you guys to share this broadcast around on Facebook, YouTube, Twitter, and on Twitch in the comment section. We would appreciate your participation. If you're hanging out with us on Twitter, retweet the show, bottom right-hand corner of your screen. If you're on Facebook Live, you can share. You can share now to public like Joseph North or Corey D. Jackson. That is the bottom left-hand corner of your screen. And if you're on YouTube, like Jack Tripper or Randy Howard, the aforementioned, you can like the video, you can subscribe to the channel, you can tell a friend to do the same so we can get through this offseason together, go through this injury report, and talk about who's going to be available for Sunday afternoon, Christmas Eve, against the Seahawks. Amar says, all I want for Christmas is a new coaching staff and strength and conditioning coaches. I don't think you're getting any of that. You're probably going to get, instead of that, you're probably getting Cole, because you're certainly not getting that. But that's okay. We're going to continue to, we're going to help you get through it together, because I promise you're getting none of those things for Christmas. You may get a tweak here or there, but not wholesale change the way that you seem to want. Anyway, let's go ahead and get this started. Welcome into A to Z Sports Prime Time from the Zen Sports Studios. I'm your host, Buck Rising. I'm proud, as always, to be presented to you by the great people at the law offices of Amanda J. Gentry. Not blah, 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 but wherever justice demands. Her and her team are there to protect your constitutional rights. Go to amandajgentry.com for more information. Go to TrueMath Fitness in the Gulch for a new way to work out for the best version of you. TrueMathFitness.com is where you go for your first workout free. And Zen Sports. Download that app, plug in the promo code ATOZTN, bet on football all weekend long, bet basketball, bet hockey, bet whatever you desire. As far as your favorite major sports go, with that promo code ATOZTN. All right. So there's a couple of developments on the injury report today. 14 Titans players didn't practice. Now, listen, the urgency is off for everybody, right? Not that they're taking Seattle less seriously than they would if they were still in the playoff chase, but they are taking the health of a lot of these players very seriously, given that there is not a postseason light at the end of the tunnel, and that preservation to get these guys healthy through these last three games into the offseason now becomes the priority. So in these last three games, evaluation is going to be what's at a premium. Will Levis did speak today about if he was able to play, he would play. And Mike Vrabel also added that if Levis was unable to play, that Ryan Tannehill would be the starting quarterback for the Titans. And that, frustrates a lot of you understandably, but is the most predictable thing that they could have done. So in the absence of any actual quarterback controversy, it will be Tannehill if Levis is unavailable. Right now, Levis is not practicing, but not officially unavailable. And if he is available, and as Mike Vrabel said, available enough to protect himself out there on the field, then he will play against Seattle, and, none of that will matter. But whose stock are you buying? Whose stock seems like a valuable asset that you can buy low and sell high on the Titans roster this year? So who are you buying on the Tennessee Titans at this point. We'll talk about it together. It's your Two Rivers Ford Take. It's presented by Two Rivers Ford, quality American-made Ford vehicles and award-winning customer service. Two Rivers Ford in Mount Juliet or online at tworiversford.com. So there's a lot of different players whose futures are up in the air. There's some rental type guys like Sean Murphy-Bunting, Azeez Al-Shaair, Andre Dillard, who are in prove-it deal type situations, some better than others based on that list of three that I just named. Daniel Brunskill, another one. There are some players who are on expiring contracts. Derrick Henry, Danico Autry, Nick Westbrook-Aina, who was shut down for the rest of the season today. They placed him on injured reserve, which effectively ends his season. Omar says, I hate that we lost Tart. Yeah, I get it. But listen, if he's going to be a shitbird about it, then you don't want him here even as much as you think you want him here. I understand that sentiment. I'm sure he's going to have a great game against the Titans on New Year's Eve when he plays them for the first time as a Houston Texan. But you can't have guys like that who are poisonous to the locker room, and Tart was becoming a problem that way. So there's a lot of different players that you could look at, and Levis obviously is going to be somebody that a lot of people are buying stock on, whether he plays or not on Sunday. There's a lot to like about the rookie quarterback. He's done well to kind of survive the situation and continue to improve the situation around him. He did not have his best performance by any stretch of the imagination on Sunday against the Texans, but there is enough there that you like the promise, you like the effort, you like the energy, and I don't think anybody is selling stock on Will Levis right now. Nate's Burner says Dillard has stock. Okay, ... Listen, Dillard's stock has never been lower for you to buy, but I would think that in short order this offseason, one of the moves that has to be made is releasing Andre Dillard, because no thank you. Major Keys says Farley, it's his last year on his rookie contract. Well, this is not his last year on his rookie contract. He is a third-year player, and he is a first-round pick, so it doesn't have to be the last year of his contract next season. If for some reason that is beyond the imagination, they pick up his fifth-year option. So it doesn't have to be the final year of his contract, but it is in all likelihood. E-Man says draft day Tennessee has to trade 17. Well, Ryan Tannehill is again on an expiring contract. You cannot trade players on an expiring contract, so that option is not possible. So whose stock are you buying? He's not guaranteed to be on the roster next year, the player that I'm going to go with. But I think he's one of the most impressive stories on that football team, and I think it makes a compelling case for him to come back in 2024, if for no other reason to compete for a roster spot. I'll tell you who I'm talking about here in just a second, right after I remind you that the Primetime program is presented by the law offices of Amanda J. Gentry. Wherever justice demands, she means what she says. They have practiced in Tennessee family and criminal courts in 35 counties across the state of Tennessee, and they are there to serve you. If you are unfamiliar with your constitutional rights, that's okay. They're there to make sure that you have the necessary protections, the essential protections, your constitutional protections at amandajgentry.com. So Karen O'Keefe is buying Henry stock. I don't think so. We'll get to Derrick here in just a second. I had a very interesting conversation with Greg Cosell today. And honestly, a very interesting conversation with a couple of different people around the league, specifically about Derrick Henry and what he might do in the offseason. And I'll tell you that the prognostication for Derrick is pretty bleak to hear other people who are not in Nashville but working in the National Football League tell it. But we can get to that here in just a second. Monsoon Monahan says he's buying Autry stock. Danico Autry has a career-high 10 sacks. He's in his mid-30s. He's at the end of his deal. I don't know whether they're going to bring him back. I think it makes a lot of sense to. I also understand that they would prefer to get younger at the position. I just don't know when, I don't want to sell too early on Danico Autry if I'm the Titans, because he's just such an effective player. John Moreland says, I don't know why they didn't do some sort of extension with Autry during the season. I know he's still older, but he can obviously still play. Yeah, but you fear the drop off. You don't want to be saddled with a contract of a player who can't perform, even though all Autry does is go out there and perform on a regular basis. But I'll tell you that the player whose stock that I'm buying, even though he's on an expiring contract, and even though he's not guaranteed to be back next year, is the player that they put on injured reserve today, Nick Westbrook-Aina.
Hey, Nick, when it comes to just a new week headed to Miami for a primetime game, I guess despite, kind of the funk you're in, how excited do you guys get for that primetime game and kind of pushes you to even want to, be right in it?
Yeah, I mean, everybody loves. I feel like every game. I mean, we're motivated for every game, trying to get a win. It's not easy to win this league, but those primetime games have a little extra juice to them. There's more eyes watching. All your family's going to be able to watch. It doesn't matter where they're at in the country. There's no blackouts or anything like that. Everybody's going to be able to watch. So it's just a great opportunity to get out there and show what you can do.
When it comes to this Miami defense, physical, obviously, the offense on their side of the ball gets talked about a lot. But what do you see defensively from them?
Yeah, I mean, they got a lot of talented dudes all over the roster. I feel like they're strong in the front seven and also, in that back secondary as well. So I feel like that's the challenge, is having a full, complete defense to go against. It's not like, there's one area of weakness that we feel like we can really focus on. It's just going to be, finding our ways to be able to, expose the different things that we see.
Will Levis talks about how he's so critical of his play. Obviously, last week he said that too, calling it his worst game, that he's had. How much do you enjoy having a rookie that takes accountability and just the fieriness that he seems to have as a guy who's trying to find his leadership role?
Yeah, I mean, that's huge. I feel like one of the big things about being in this league and being a professional is owning up to your own mistakes. And I think that's what helps guys grow as a player, because then it shows you that they care, that they they don't want to make that mistake. It also shows to the team that they care and that they're gonna do whatever it takes to get it right.
So that's Nick Westbrook-Aina speaking with Kayla Anderson, and that was pre-Miami game, just for context. They shut him down for the year. He's dealing with a hand injury. He's been working through some stuff all year long, and he was sick heading into Sunday's game. Still made a huge play down the field on that free play to set him up with first and goal at the 1 before Will Levis ultimately ran the ball into the end zone for the Titans' only touchdown of the day on Sunday. It was a slog for sure. And listen, NWI is not a number one wide receiver. He's not even a 2, but he is a reliable option who I would love as a 4, maybe a 3 plus special teams if he's got it. Amar says, I'm selling NWI stock. Chris Moore is a better option and more of a deep threat. I'd rather have him over NWI. That is not accurate based on their targets. That's not accurate based on their catch success rates this season. NWI is a far more reliable target than has been Chris Moore. Now, Chris Moore is an ace special teams player, and you can probably even things out in the margins. He made plenty of plays on special teams, made a couple of plays down the field this year. But NWI consistently has helped you move the chains and also set you up for some of those deep shots, and has been a more effective threat in the red zone. He is, like I said, I don't want him to start. I want him to be a 4, and I want him to be available if Treylon Burks or DeAndre Hopkins or a Titans draft pick at wide receiver or a free agent to be named later this offseason. If there are injuries that occur, then NWI is a great option there. Clayton Smith says Kyle Phillips coming back in the slot. I don't know what to make of Kyle Phillips. He was dealing with an injury ahead of Sunday's game, and he led them in receiving twice this season. He's been inconsistent. He doesn't play special teams now because they can't trust him to field a punt properly or field a kick return properly. I am selling stock on Kyle Phillips, if I'm completely honest, and that's a shame because I thought that could be a player that really helped them. And to date, he's not been able to effectively do so. So I would say I'm buying NWI stock, even though he's on an expiring contract. I think that dude is worth bringing back, if for no other reason, to compete in camp this year. You'd like to see a world where NWI becomes disposable. Right now, he's not. So until such time, I think he's done well. He's a great story coming into the COVID undrafted rookie free agent class, having a terrible camp. Was not somebody who was very effective or efficient, especially as a receiver, but they saw something that they liked in him. He played special teams. He gutted it out. And what he has done is made an incredibly successful career for a dude who did not come in with any draft pedigree and did not have much of a, any kind of like spectacular college career to speak of. NWI is a great success story. And I know you get frustrated with him because of how often you have to see him when he should be a fourth wide receiver on your roster, but that's not his fault that your roster continues to get injured. And all he does is, he's the most consistent playmaker at wide receiver that they have, not named DeAndre Hopkins. I know that's not saying much, but it is saying something. Anyway, what's fair market price for NWI? I think he's on like just a little more than $1 million this year on a 1-year deal. I'd be completely fine with something similar. If you want to give him more guaranteed money because he's earned it and he'll be a vested vet here at the end of this season, then that's also fine as well. But I don't think it needs to be, over $2 million. Jack Tripper says, what happened to Kearis Jackson? They never brought him back dealing with an ankle injury. He remains on injured reserve. It didn't ever sound like that was an option to have him come back this season, to hear some people around the facility tell it. So as we buy stock in players who are either at risk of leaving the Titans or still on the Titans roster, but have a lot to prove next season, and frankly have a lot to prove in these next 3 games, whose stock are you selling? We'll talk about it together on Facebook, YouTube, Twitter, and on Twitch right after I remind you that the Primetime Show is presented by True Math Fitness in the Gulch, the best place to work out, a new way to work out for the best version of you. Go to the place where no workout is ever recycled or repeated. Go to True Math Fitness in the Gulch to get that first workout free, to try their boot camp style classes, to take their personal training sessions, or to sign up for a membership and just get the best facility in downtown Nashville for your workouts as you please. New Year's resolutions, they're right around the corner. A lot of you people are going to be looking for new places to try and improve your physical fitness. You don't have to wait until New Year's. You can sign up for a True Math Fitness membership today, or at least try a workout for free at truemathfitness.com. I promise you won't regret it. So whose stock are you selling? Ken Caniff says selling SMB. That's interesting. I thought he's been McCreary's been their best corner this year, but I think SMB is definitely worth bringing back. Kearis is on IR. Yes, I mentioned that earlier. The entire offensive line except Skoronski, who, by the way, is playing bad football in the last month. That's who John Moreland is selling stock on. For BF, it's a variety of different players: Dillard, Henry, Brewer, Tannehill, and Jack Gibbons. Amar says he is buying stock of Azeez Al-Shaair. I think that the player that I'm most selling stock on right now is Derrick Henry. And it's not Derrick's fault, even though there is some stuff like Derrick is not as fast as he was before he broke his foot. He's not pulling away from people the way that he used to. He's not finding 7 yards where maybe another running back might have been able to find 3, the way that he's done across the course of his career. And he's getting hit at or behind the line of scrimmage on 50% of his touches this year. It's disgusting. It's not Derrick's fault, but that doesn't mean that I'm not selling stock on him. He is, I don't know. There's not another team in the NFL that I think would sign Derrick Henry this offseason. And I don't know that should necessarily dictate that the Titans bring him back, though he will be, he will be cost effective. I think that there's a lot about Derrick that obviously, if you're a Titans fan, you want to see him break Eddie's records. You want to see him, further entrench himself in franchise lore. You want to see him play behind a better offensive line, and I 100% agree with all of that. And also, I just don't think it's worth like legitimate money next year to keep Derrick Henry around just for the sentimentality. Because that's what it is. You're not keeping him around. Tajay Spears needs to be the primary running back next year. Hell, Tajay Spears probably needs to be the primary running back in the last 3 games so we can see what this looks like and try and get them in a position where they're most capable of moving on. Derrick as a red zone weapon is stuff that is the kind of thing that you don't want to ever be out on. He's still a threat in certain situations, but he's not special enough for him to overcome his circumstances right now. And again, I'm not blaming him for that. I'm just saying that if it was my money, and it's not, it's the Titans' money, I would not spend it on Derrick Henry next year. If Derrick Henry is not going to get signed by another team in free agency if he hits it. The most likely scenario for Derrick Henry, as we see things right now, is him being a late stage training camp ad where he comes in on a mercenary like Ndamukong Suh type 1-year deal, and he goes to a place that either is experiencing injuries or goes through the draft process, fills out their primary free agency needs, and then looks around and says, do we want Derrick Henry? Yeah, maybe we can make that work if you're Baltimore or Buffalo or the Cowboys or something like that. There is no need other than the emotional ties. And listen, I'm not dismissing the emotional ties to Derrick Henry, but there's not a great football reason to keep Derrick Henry around next year. And I'm totally prepared to eat my words on that. I'm sure many of you will screen record this if Derrick Henry comes back and ends up breaking Eddie George's records and all these things. And I personally hope that I'm wrong because I like Derrick personally. I want to see him accomplish all the things that he wants to accomplish. I think he's been an incredibly good soldier. And, I think he deserves to do some winning of consequence, not just an AFC championship appearance. And if he can do that somewhere else, then I hope that goes to plan. But I don't think Derrick Henry is not worth even the value contract that you're going to get Derrick Henry is going to have next year. We'll see what decision they end up making. It's a really tough call. It's a really tough call because it's like Kevin Byard. I mean, it's of a bigger magnitude than Kevin Byard. And many of you were still hurt by the Kevin Byard deal. You can't run Tajay Spears. Corey D. Jackson says you can't run Tajay between the tackles like Derrick. He won't hold up, in my opinion. Yeah, but the point is he doesn't, and I know this sounds cruel, but he doesn't necessarily have to, right? Like my whole point is you've already replaced Derrick Henry effectively once with Deontay Foreman. Why all of a sudden are you fighting against the idea of doing it again other than you love the guy? And I totally get that you love the guy. I totally get that you love the guy. I hope I'm as wrong about this as I was about not paying Derrick Henry a second contract. I would have been right with any other running back, and I was wrong because it's Derrick, and he's different and he's special. And maybe he'll be a Hall of Fame player. I don't think you can make a case for Derrick Henry to be in the Hall of Fame if he's still second to Eddie George in a lot of these franchise records, and Eddie's not in, but we can debate the merits of that. Eddie did more playoff winning of consequence than Derrick. But like I said, I'd like to see Derrick have the best opportunity to succeed elsewhere. I know some of you are laughing at the idea of me advocating to keep NWI and not keeping Derrick Henry. They're just in a different spot, you guys. It's just this is not the same type of deal. This is not the same type of deal. I don't think it's worth it. I don't. And even as I know how important Derrick Henry is to this community, to the city, I hope he continues to be. I hope that, it's like Derek Mason, where there may be some harsh feelings at the end when you finally part ways, but that at some point he comes back. He's a legend of the franchise. They put him in the Ring of Honor and all these different things. And, if he continues to find ways to play at a high level for another team and have playoff success, and hopefully for Derrick's sake, win a Super Bowl, more power to him. I just don't think that's going to be here, and I don't think it needs to be. Anyway, rising and falling. Whose stock rose? Whose stock fell? Since we're doing a little buying and selling, whose stock rose or fell this week in sports? We'll talk about it together right after I remind you that the Primetime Show is presented by Zen Sports. Download the app, plug in the promo code ATOZTN, get up to $1,000 on your no danger first wager. Zen Sports is the place for you to wager on all your favorite major sports. Terms and conditions do apply. Gambling problem, call the Tennessee Red Line, 1-800-889-9789. That's Zen Sports. Must be 21 or up in Tennessee to bet. So whose stock rose, whose stock fell? Karen O'Keefe says Ja Morant. Yes, Ja with 34 points and the game winner in New Orleans last night. Incredible. After missing 25 games, coming back in a big spot. A.J. Brown's stock fell with Eagles fans. Well, A.J., I know a lot of you guys are laughing at it. I really hate it for him. A.J. Brown is somebody who has talked about publicly struggling with mental health stuff. I know that not a lot of people are going to take that seriously because, Titans fans like to point and laugh at A.J. when things go wrong for him. But Philadelphia is not a place for somebody with mental health struggles, documented mental health struggles. And I just, I feel bad for AJ, even though I think he brings a lot of it on himself when he goes out there and fights those fights on social media. It's a toxic place. So hopefully that doesn't have a negative impact on him other than just kind of a little bit of a frustration on social media. This AJ stuff is childish as bleep, says Mo Francois. Lame ass fans. Talking about Philly fans or Titans fans? Because I do think a lot of it's lame from Titans fans, even though AJ likes to troll you. I think it's more lame from Eagles fans, but Eagles fans are different, right? You're not going to tell Eagles fans the way to act. They're going to act however they want to and be justified for it after the fact. Anyway, Titans fans, says Mo. He's not talking about Eagles fans. He thinks Titans fans are lame for the way that they handle AJ. And He does like to throw shade at you a lot. So some of it I understand, but I don't think anybody should want to see the guy fail. Like I said, I hope AJ Brown and Kevin Byard win a Super Bowl with the Eagles. I hope Derrick Henry wins a Super Bowl somewhere other than the Titans next year. I hope that all those players go on to succeed because I've covered them. I know that they work hard. I know how much it means to them. Even if some of them bother you or bothered you the way that they went out the door. But the stock that I'm buying or whose stock rose is always the Charger social media account. They are out here campaigning for their kicker, Cameron Dicker, to make the Pro Bowl, and they are doing it in absolutely hilarious fashion.
Been victimized by a missed field goal.
No good! Wide to the right! No good!
Ah! My name is Cameron Dicker, and I'll kick for you. 50, 40, 30, doesn't matter. I'll make it.
Bang! Bang! Bang!
Rain, sleet, or snow, this leg is ready to go. Don't believe me? Ask him.
Cameron Dicker is a really good kicker. He's outstanding, and I love him.
And I did not edit that. So don't be and let me kick for you at the Pro Bowl. Ah! So go to chargers.com/vote to send me and my leg to kick for you. Vote for me! Vote for me! Pro Bowl 2023, baby, let's go!
It's incredible. The Chargers social media account always delivers, even when their football team does not. It's going to do it for us tonight on the Primetime program. We appreciate you guys spending your evening here with us. Radio show tomorrow. We're going to have Elijah Molden on. Who else is on the radio show tomorrow? Oh, Ryan Callahan. We'll recap all of the Vols moves in the early signing period and in the transfer portal today, so that'll be a lot of fun. Friday, we're also going to have Mina Kimes, noted Seattle Seahawks superfan of ESPN, and of course, Coach Mack. So make sure you're paying attention and hanging out with us on the radio show from 10 to 1 on 104.5 The Zone. The new install with Greg Cosell is out. I think you guys are going to be fascinated to hear how he kind of translates what the Titans are doing offensively and why he thinks they're playing the way that they are philosophically. I thought Greg was great on that today. Also thought he gave some pretty telling thoughts on his evaluation, his film evaluation of Derrick Henry, and why the Henry experiment in Tennessee appears to be coming to a close in these next 3 games. So that'll do it for us tonight. Check out the install. Subscribe to the 104.5 The Zone YouTube channel while you're there, and I'll see you guys for one more primetime tomorrow. And if not, the radio show starts at 10.
This is our Colts. This is our team. We bleed blue. This is our Colts. Whether win or lose, we love them. For the shoe, beat the Titans. Let the world hear us now. This is our team. Go Colts.